Hey, 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 happy Monday. We are live. We are live. I'm excited to be back in the building with you all yet again, another Monday night at 8:30 p.m. If you are watching live, please be sure to let us know in the chat. And we are going to get started. Instagram, if you're there, be sure to let me know that you're there so we can communicate with you. You can ask questions. You can do whatever it is you'd like to do in the chat, and we will respond. But I'm gonna get started in 1 second. Let me just make sure my sound is good. I see we got one person. Hey, Akana. Um, just want to make sure my stream is going in one place that I always have to make a change real quick. And then we are going to get started because I'm excited to see you all and be back in the building, as they say. All right. So, listen, happy Monday. And as you know, here at Unblocking Your Path to Wealth, going from chaos to calm with your money, we always have amazing guests. All of my friends who are smart in finance, who are bringing it in the industry, I bring them from around the country. And today is no different. I have Mr. Lonzie Greene, Mr. Flip Your 401k himself. And today we are going to get into some retirement specific conversations. But as you know, this is not just about the money. It's about the money, the mindset, monetization, and managing it. And so we're going to be talking about all kinds of things so that you can get your money right. We're coming up on 2025. I know many of you have goals to get your money right in 2025. You can raise your virtual hand or send me a DM and let me know. But if you are trying to get your money together in 2025, this is the place you want to be. You want to be in the building. You want to be in my DM. You want to be booking appointments so that we can help get you straight. You're also going to have a chance to become a part of my 6-week program that is launching in January. So look for the flyers coming out soon. You're going to be able to be a part of that so we can get your money right. Now, I want to tell you a little story today because these two words have been in my mind all morning. I couldn't figure out why they were just so heavy in my mind. And the two words are desperation versus expectation. And desperation versus expectation. I want to give you a little bit of example, and this is going to be related to your money, but I want us to think about it like this. You know, there are times in our lives when we may have found ourselves desperate for money. We really needed money for something and we didn't have it and we didn't see it coming. Maybe the car broke down. Maybe the heat went out in your house. Maybe things just weren't going right. You're trying to figure out how to get kids into school with money you don't have, with bills piling up and all that, right? But if you find yourself in what they call the spirit of desperation, that I gotta have it. If this doesn't happen, things are gonna fall apart. And it seems to elude you. And so that energy does not attract the thing that you need because the focus is incorrect. Desperation is focused on what you don't have instead of being focused on what you do have. Now, when you think about your money in the spirit of expectation, I'm going to give you this example. A couple of weeks ago, I was blessed to have my dad come and stay with me for about 30 to 45 days. That's just the kind of guy he is. When he gets here, he doesn't like to leave. But in preparation for him coming, my expectation, the things I did to prepare to receive him when he showed up was like any normal person would do. I made sure the room was clean. I changed the sheets. I washed the comforter. I made sure he had space to put his things since he was staying an extended time. I made sure there was food and water in the refrigerator, at least most of it because he likes to shop, so I didn't do too much shopping. But I just kind of prepared things. I was preparing for his arrival versus being in a frenzy and all over the place trying to figure out what am I going to do if he comes. And there's a different energy when you expect. I expected him to come, so I prepared for him to be there. And it's the same thing with our finances, right? If we're lucky, we will get to retire. And that ties into our conversation today. If we're lucky, but we shouldn't get to retirement in desperation. where we're trying to figure out 5 years out from retirement, 3 years out from retirement, 2 years out from retirement. Where's all this money going to come from? Because for whatever reason, you didn't sit down with someone soon enough. Now that it's time for you to take a well-deserved retirement, your math ain't mathing, right? But you could be in the position of expectation for retirement because you're taking the smaller steps to prepare in expectation that I know I plan to retire at 55, 65, or whatever the age, or 40 or 30, because my belief is retirement is about income, not age. You got the right income, you can retire and go do something else. So, but the thing is we want to move you from a spirit of desperation and lack of loss of, I don't know what I'm going to do if this doesn't happen, to a spirit of expectation, knowing it's coming, doing the small things leading up to the time so that you're ready to receive, like I was ready to receive my dad, but you're ready to receive the joys of stepping into full retirement and not worrying about money when you're in retirement. Hopefully that makes sense. I hope that many of you that didn't go over your head, but that has been on my mind for the last 24 hours. Like really thinking about what's the difference between the desperation and the expectation. And the huge difference is the energy we put behind it and the preparation or lack thereof. So I want to say hello to everybody that's saying hi in the chat. Relevant TV, Akana, Regina, Sharon, Shayna on Instagram, M Goody. We want to make sure, and so again, the point, we want to make sure we are living in the spirit of expectation and not desperation. And so I want to bring on an amazing guest. I had the pleasure of knowing Lonzie like maybe 6 months, right? It hasn't been that long.
Yeah.
But young man, I'm saying young man because we all young. We all young, we all young. This young man I've seen him come into the financial space, already being doing different things in different parts of the industry, but he brings a different twist. He brings an enjoyment. He brings into an enjoyment to what he does, and he brings a certain swag that we need, especially when it comes to retirement and 401k. Y'all see him fixing the bow tie, right? And it's a good thing I wore my orange because the two best colors on the planet are orange and blue, because that's my school. But Lonzie's been in the industry for quite a long time. But I love his name. He goes by Mr. Flip Your 401k. And that means, we're talking about walking into retirement in expectation, not desperation. And so that's why I wanted to have Lonzie on. Go ahead and bring your voice into the room any way you feel comfortable, Lonzie.
Yeah. First and foremost, man, like drop some fireballs, some muscle arms, some something for that sermon you just gave. Desperation versus expectation. Saran, thank you so much for having me on this evening. You look amazing. I love the orange. The orange looks so divine on you. I
Thank you.
appreciate you bringing me on. As Saran mentioned, my name is Lonzie Greene, aka affectionately known as Mr. Flip Your 401k. And I have been in the retirement benefits administration and finance industry for a combined total of 20 plus years. I know I don't look it. I know I look 20, but
Yeah,
yes,
you sure do. You look 25. You look 25.
thank you so much for flattering me. So, Saran, but yeah, I've been in the industry for that long, and I like what the title of your podcast, Unlocking Your Path, because what I did was something that in the financial industry, at least in the industry that I work in, they tell you not to do, which is do not touch your retirement account.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I did that. I went against all financial expertise and experience, and I took a chance on myself, and I borrowed $6,000 from my 401k plan, and I seeded it into a business that I ultimately grew into multi six figures, all while working uh, and climbing the corporate ladder. Yes, I am a corporate employed entrepreneur, and I help corporate employees, okay, become their own bank, get paid for life, and retire comfortably. So yeah, I'm excited to be on and talk a little bit and share a little bit about what I've learned in my 2 decades of experience. And I like that you invoked preparation and planning into the conversation early on, because really that's what it takes early on, is planning and preparation.
And I love that because, with the 20 plus years you've been in the industry and the work that I'm doing, right? Because I work with people on their retirements too, the infinite banking, all the things that we do to help people, to empower people to do something different. I think that it's important for us to hear it from different voices and different perspectives, right? I don't have the experience in doing corporate benefits, but I do have the experience of having taken some loans from some corporate 401ks. I didn't, but I didn't have no purpose for it back then. I didn't know what I didn't know, right?
Right,
You don't know what you don't know, right? And
right.
that's just like people are watching. That's the whole purpose. And the transparency, in full transparency, I talk about the mistakes that I made and how I know to do better with finances, because in your example of using the money to build a business, and that was one of the reasons I'm like, I gotta have Lonzie on, because we have so many people who are borrowing the money from the 401k and not leveraging it, but spending it. And we come from the school of thought and the training, because we both have, top level 7 to 8 figure mentors in common. And the the school of thought is, if you're going to borrow that kind of money from something as sacred as your future self, your future retirement, at least be ready to leverage it and go after something that's going to give you twofold, threefold, tenfold what you invested in. So that not only can you pay it back, you can pay back the interest you lost and continue to grow it. But I want to ask this question because I think that people miss this because they work in corporate and they go to the little classes that their job may have, and they talk to them about the retirement plan. And I want to ask you this because I know you have the corporate background. And so the question is this is, are they telling you the whole story when you go to those corporate retirement trainings at your job, or I'm in the DMV and the government? I mean, I just want you to say it because I've been saying it, but I want you to say, are they telling the whole story, or what are we missing?
That's a great question. The short end of it is no. I think there is a huge gap in meeting people where they are. Like for me, like I said, I'm an entrepreneurial mindset, but the narrative and the speech is to don't touch. What I mean,
Mhm.
don't touch your money. And so, but there's many layers to unpack behind that. You know what I mean? It's one thing to tell me don't touch my money, but what are the consequences of not touching my money, right? And then also, I don't think there's a as intentional or purposeful um, conversation around how to invest. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
How to really connect with whether or not a retirement savings plan is the best for you. Like for example, the general speak out there right now is, hey, you need to be saving 15% in your
Mhm.
retirement plan, right? But do we go into whether or not you should be putting that 15% in pre-tax? Or if you have an after-tax Roth option, should you be putting it in after tax? What is your tax strategy? Is the
Right.
15% really what you should be doing? Are there other vehicles that you could put your money in that can grow? What is your risk tolerance? You know what I mean? Are you conservative of it? Are you moderately aggressive, or are you aggressive? So no, there's some, and then fees. Let's talk about fees, administrative fees, mutual fund fees. So I think the employer or the plan sponsor does as best as it can to communicate to you on a surface level what these
Right. Right.
retirement are, but they don't really get into the real. I mean, there's a book called 401 Chaos that I read that really talks about the history of the 401.
I got that. That's one of my faves.
Yeah, the history of the 401k and how is really, at least in the current design, is really not designed thoroughly enough to really prepare you holistically and put you in a position holistically for retirement.
Mhm.
It was really just one leg of the three-legged retirement stool, and both the other legs, which is pension and social security, are so shaky, and there's really no such thing as a pension anymore. And then Social Security is so wobbly. So then now you're looking at your 401k as your main source as a corporate employee for retirement. And the statistics are showing that you're simply outliving that. You're not saving enough in your retirement plan, and it's too volatile for you to have enough money to live off of when you are ready to retire.
Yeah. And you know what? I like that you said that the 401 Chaos. That is a great book. That's one of the books in my library. And I share that with people when I do different webinars and events like that. But here's the deal. You talked about the stool and you said wobbly. Well, the three-legged stool has become a one-legged stool, which means it's on the floor. Which means
Thanks.
nobody nobody can survive that way, right? And so we're seeing here, like I know I'm seeing in the clients that I'm meeting with, they are they're a group that they still have a pension because they're coming out now. They're coming out of the federal government, they're coming out of the local governments where they started before, I think it's 1987 or 86. And so now is the time that they are getting the pension, they are getting whatever they've done post 1987, if they've done 457 and added themselves, and they're lucky enough to actually expect that they're going to get their social security, right?
Mhm.
But it becomes a challenge for them because then they're trying to figure out how to balance this new lump sum, these large sums of money that maybe they've never really seen in their lives, but they don't know what to do. What do you recommend to someone like that?
Well, I mean, it goes back to what you said that's important with your podcast is mindset, and I look at it as structure like this. You know, find yourself, okay, find your money, and then fund your future. And so the question becomes is, like you said, and like retirement and planning around it is more so of a number and not an age. But I look at it from protection, really. First of all, protection. Where can I put my money in, or what can I put my money in that can protect it, and then grow it as well. What can I put my in? And you alluded to this, okay? What vehicle or vehicles can I put my money in that grows it, and also grows it in a way that is either consistent or preferably more than the rate of inflation. Because
Right.
if you're not growing it at the rate of inflation, you're basically, your head is underneath the water anyway.
Hmm.
So safety and security. So I would say when you look for things, and then income. I like vehicles that can provide you a steady flow of income, and also a flow of income that can be paid to you for the rest of your life. I think there's some assurances there. I
Hmm.
think there's comfort there. I think there's some confidence there. When you know what you have coming in every month, then it also helps you with your spending plan, or what we used to refer to as a budget. And so I
Right.
think that there's some empowerment that comes with that. So I kind of would say I think more so about that growth, protection, safety, and stability. I mean, a lot of times, people put money in things when they're retired that's volatile, that's still going up and down with the market. And when the getting is good, when the market is doing well, I mean, it's sweet. But when it
Sweet.
changes, just like in 2022, when people had money in their retirement savings plans and they had them in those mutual funds, those stock investments, right? And that average balance reduced by 20%, which equates to like tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars reduced in your balance, then people become anxious. People become scared. And so
Hmm.
that's why I go back to making the point of making sure that it's protected and stable and safe. So I would look at vehicles like that.
And I love that, right? Because we talk about protection here all the time. We talk about the foundation. The foundation of our finances is first we protect it, right? And how do we protect it? What's our biggest asset? We protect us with life insurance. We make sure we're protected. But then we want to invest, then we can look at doing some things more strategic. If you have low risk, there's ways to do lots of things with life insurance, cash value that is super protected that will move you forward. But the other thing is, when we're looking at our risk tolerance, right? if you don't know if you're a high risk person or not, then you could use what they call the rule of 100 and take 100 and subtract your age. And that's about how much money you should have at risk in the market. The rest of it should be steady, right? If you just don't know. Now, on the flip side, you can reduce that, right? So, like if somebody who's 50 and they say, well, that means 50%, you don't have to do 50%. The big thing for that I find that people don't understand is they think they have to follow the exact formulas or plans or rhythms that someone is prescribed to them on TV or from a podcast or whatever it is. And so I think, part of my message is that you are an individual and so is your financial situation. No matter how similar it may be to someone else. And we talked about this offline before we started. One of the things I always ask my ladies is if you break up with somebody and you left a box of money at his house, you gonna leave it there? If you broke up with a young lady, Lonzie, and you knew you left a box of money at the house, she don't know it's there because you just stuffed it somewhere because you were there regularly, so you was just stuffing your money in the box. You gonna leave it there?
Absolutely not.
So why do we leave our 401k and retirements at old jobs when we leave?
Hmm.
Why do we leave it there? You didn't trust them enough to keep paying you to make a living, so why you gonna leave your retirement there? And that's the thing, is because now you're leaving your power to someone else, right? And so we have to get into understanding and get over some of the fears. So, what do you feel like are some of the things that my ladies can think about or can access to help them overcome some of their fears with money and planning for retirement?
I mean that's a good question. I think for one, I mean it starts by getting involved and connected in these kind of conversations. When it comes to retirement plans, I mean, reaching out and actually there actually are some good resources. So each plan has what's called a plan administrator or a record keeper, right? And that record keeper has representatives. A lot of times, most times, licensed representatives. Now, with financial wellness being such a hot topic, there's financial wellness coaches offered everywhere. Especially if you're currently at a job, you can get a financial wellness coach sometimes through your employee assistance program, or you could get it with your record keeper. I would encourage for you to reach out to those individuals and have conversations with those individuals. But to Saran's point, financial independence does come through education. It doesn't come through what most people, the path that most people take with their retirement plan, which is do what they're told to do, set it and forget it, turn their head over their shoulder, wait 20 or 30 years, and hope and keep their fingers crossed that they have enough money to retire off of. Doesn't work like that. So I think
Magic, but not that magic.
no, absolutely not. So I think you need to assert yourself a little bit. One thing that I do in my space is actually review your plan document. There's each plan has what's called a plan document, and even Cliff Notes called the summary plan document. And
Mm-hmm.
basically, what it does is it outlines all the highlights, all the features of your plan. And what we do is we actually review that plan document and we provide to you through that analysis in layman what the plan is actually saying, because it's in legal jargon and
Right.
sometimes that can be overwhelming for people. So we break that down and put that in a simplified way for you, and then come up with a strategy. Like, what does it look like for you? As Saran talked about, your own unique situation, for you to be able to strategize, capitalize, and maximize on your employer retirement plan. But you not only are being told this strategy, but you are being coached, instructed, guided in a way that you can take the information now with you for the rest of your life, even if you
Right.
move from job to job. So I encourage you to be assertive, to know your plan, ask the questions based on knowing the plan, and then start putting a plan in place based on that knowledge, and then start acting and executing.
Yeah. And I love that because the thing is that we got to fill the gap because it's kind of like our health, right? Nobody knows your body like you. I'm a huge advocate. You go to the doctor, but you know your body. So just like you know your body, when you go to the doctor, you should be able to talk to that doctor about what's going on with you. And if something's not right, know that maybe you need to talk to somebody else if they're not getting it to move forward. It's the same thing with your money. When you know you want to reach a certain goal financially, and you go to one person and they give you whatever their answer is, and you're like, that didn't get me where I wanted to be. Don't be afraid to keep going, because it's no different in the financial industry than it is in the medical industry, because we have people in the finance industry who are generalists, if you will. They do a little bit of everything. But then you
Right.
have specialists in so many different areas. And so that's why it's okay to be working with a CPA, to be working with a financial planner, to have somebody who just does your taxes, to have someone who just does your insurance planning, to have someone that helps you with your real estate investments, to have someone that's helping with your business finances, right? And in full transparency, as a personal finance person, I was looking at my business finance like it was Greek. I was like, what is this? I don't know. And I'm thinking, why don't I get this? So I just hired somebody who knew business finance. I'm like, all right, I
Absolutely.
got me a bookkeeper, I got me a CPA, and they meet with me and tell me what it says.
Hey,
And
look,
I'm learning the process through them, right? It's like, okay, well, all right, that makes sense because I do this over here for personal finance, so it makes sense over here. But the it's different, right? My personal taxes are different than my business taxes. And so I have to know that if that's not my area of specialty, to not be so high on myself to think, well, I'll just figure it out. Well, no, you know what? I'm gonna hire somebody until I figure it out so I can get it right while I'm figuring it out. And so that's really the key, with when I'm talking to people. Now, I don't want to leave this out, because you said something so important, and I don't want to leave this out, because I don't want to leave the people hanging when you said you took the 6,000 out of your 401k and you went to build a business with it with six figures. So I want to talk about that a little bit. So before you took the 6k, did you already have a business plan or strategy laid out for what you were going to do?
so I would love to answer that, and I'm going to answer that, but I do want to echo a point that you just made, which is something that took me a while. But when you get, like, you order that big, huge table or something like that needs to assemble, and on that box it tells you that it's going to take more than one person, right, to carry that load, to lift it for you, right?
Yeah,
And some of us still ignore that and try to do it on our own as well. When it comes to retirement and wealth building, it is a team sport. So
I
if you
agree.
have it in your mind that you're going to do it yourself, if you're going to go to YouTube University, if you're going to check out a minute and 30-second reel from Instagram, and you're going to be able to learn everything that you need to learn to build wealth and to prepare for your future, then you are sadly mistaken. It is a team building sport. I have a financial planning team. I have a CPA. So I just didn't want to gloss over that,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
that's something that I had to learn. But yeah. So yeah, so no, I didn't have a business plan. Okay. I mean, I did connect. Well, let me put it this. I did connect with a mentor.
yeah.
So
Hmm.
it was a friend of the family, or actually a family member. And I had been observing her for years and just kind of seeing things. And so you talked about desperation. So out of desperation, I just took
Oh no.
it and said, I need help. Can you put me on? And she was like, sure. So even though I didn't have a formal business plan, and I'm gonna be transparent about that, I end up crafting and building a business plan as I learned. I at
Hmm.
least had an idea or a concept of what the business was and what it took. And then I
Okay.
had at least a support system and mentorship, someone that actually guided me step by step and told me what things that I needed to put in place in order to be able to structure a plan to be successful. So eventually I got there, but I didn't start there. And so So yeah, so I took that money, and under mentorship, I was able to get again the structure, all the steps that I needed. I actually built a program, and it was via a contract. It was via governmental contract, and so that's the relationship that I had, and I grew that business. I ran that business for 10 years, but no plan. I probably started putting some structure in place probably around year 2 and 3. That's kind of when I started to be able to craft my systems, my processes, get my SOPs in place, get my business plan in place. So it took me a couple of years, but I did eventually get there, but I didn't start there.
Well, I appreciate your transparency, right? And so I wanted to ask that question because I know so many people who have amazing skills and talents, amazing abilities, and they have business ideas, and they never get started because they want to get everything perfect before they start.
Mm-hmm.
And I just asked that question not to put you on the spot, but just to say that it's about getting in the game. And even when I got into this industry, I didn't have it all together. Even when I decided to start, going live and doing videos, I didn't have it all together. The first time I went live, I didn't know what I was going to say until I hit click live. Hello, I'm here. But I say that because we got to get in, get our knees scraped, and get things done. And even with the retirement, you don't have to go alone. The key thing you said was you may not have had a strong written business plan up front, right? Because you weren't going after bank financing and things like that. So that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
But you had a strong plan because you went to work with a mentor and you went to work with somebody who was doing it and being successful at it. And that's almost as good as having a plan because now you got somebody that's going to walk alongside you. That's you're going to be able to ask questions in the fly. You're going to be able to go through the process and say, "Hey, I did it. What gives?" So that you can get through the hurdles. But I just wanted to call that out because I know so many, and again, I'm not encouraging you to go start to do something crazy. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is if you've already got like 25 to 50% of it, don't sleep on yourself. And if you feel like you need a mentor, there's two people sitting right here, you can reach out to us. We may be able to help you depending on what your industry is, what you're doing. We definitely can help you with your finances. But I want to make sure that we know that it is about the action. The action creates the expectation, not desperation, like we talked about earlier. So, but quick station break. I want to shout out people out who are here live. We got Eva on Instagram. Lady Gordon's been hanging in there. Shayna's been hanging in there live with us. Apparently, Akana is Audrey. Hey, Audrey. She got a different name. We got Sharon. That's one of my moms, my aunt Regina, a couple of different people. There's about 10 to 15 people here with us live today. So if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or you can DM me and we will answer them. But I want to get to a couple of other things with Mr. Flip Your 401k. So let's say, we have a lot of young folks who are entrepreneurs out the gate, right? They never, as we say, they never had a real job. They never had a W-2 job. I don't want to insult them because they're working their behinds off.
Yeah.
Let's keep it 100. They all working. But they
Yeah.
never had a W-2 job. And obviously if they're in their early 20s, early 30s, Social Security might be kind of skeptical. Then obviously not going to have a pension. What are some things that they can be doing to prepare for retirement?
Saving for one. I would have to say, again, I've been in the employer side, the corporate side, but man, I love tax advantage vehicles.
Yeah,
I really do. So like the Roth IRA, when time is on your side, even though the Roth IRA has what I consider relatively low limits, annual limits, being able to put that money in a Roth IRA and growing it over time is a game changer. It's a difference maker. Man, I love, and you talked about this as well, especially being young. cash value life insurance,
Absolutely.
uh, especially when we're talking about retirement index universal life insurance, because that's what I use
Mm-hmm.
for retirement. Part of my retirement plan is index universal life, and why? Because it grows. It has the potential of growing, just like a 401k or 403b plan will grow in the market, but it protects you from
Yeah.
the downside. So your money is not in the market, even though it's connected to the market growth. And
Right.
so being able to, and then you have greater flexibility too. So for example, in the Roth, the limit, depending on your age, can be like $7,000,
I think it's
$7,500.
like
Well,
7,500. It goes
7,500.
up each year, and then if you're close to retirement, you can do a catch up.
Exactly. But with the index universal life, depending on how it's structured, I mean, you can do tens of thousands of dollars in that every year, and then you just imagine if it's what that growth would be like, and let's just say an average of 7% annually over time, and then you're stretching that over 20, 30, 40 years. I mean, you're talking about becoming a millionaire over time and not necessarily having to work hard. Like you say, in your 20s, you're working hard, your 30s, you may be working hard, but then as that money is growing, that money is working for you. So you don't have to work as much. So by the time you're tiptoeing into your 40s and your 50s and your 60s, you can have some assurances that the hard work that you did early on in your earlier years is going to be paying off based on the fact that you put your money in that vehicle to grow it over time. So
Mm-hmm.
those I like tax advantage accounts because you don't have to pay penalties either. So when you pay pull money out, you're not subject to an early withdrawal penalty, which is what you'll be subject to if you were in the W-2 space and you were under 59 and a half. And then taxes as well. You don't have to worry about those taxes because your money is growing tax free. So I think for me that's a appealing component, because one of the things that you don't want to be stressed out about or thinking about is taxes and penalties in your 50s or your 60s. You want
Yeah.
all your money, you want all your coin, and you want to be able to enjoy all your money during your sunset years. So that would be the two things that stick out to me when we're talking about youth and not being a W-2 employee and then saving for retirement.
Yeah. I love that because if you're not a W-2 employee, you got to look at some of the different things because you can do they have some annuities also that they can do. They have the kiosk account. There's a couple of different things that they can do, but it's really important, especially for those who are not W-2 employees who may not have access to an employer sponsored program to participate. But we have a good question on Instagram from Stacy. Stacy says, as a person in her early 50s, I have preferred the benefits of pre tax benefits for the 401k. Why is this being discouraged now from many people when it can assist with your tax bracket? I got an answer. I don't know what you got.
Yeah,
Um,
go ahead, go ahead.
so I would say first, Stacy, is not being discouraged. It's being questioned for you to relook at how you use it. Because as Lonzie mentioned earlier, when you get to be 65, 75, 85, and you want to tap into that money, what happens is now you're tapping into that money. If you've contributed it all pre-tax, you're going to pay tax on that money as it gets distributed to you. And the assumption that many people have said is that your tax bracket will be lower in the future. That's the assumption that has been made with that strategy. And one of the things that I always like to ask people is this: would you rather pay tax on the seed or the harvest of your money? And that's the difference. When you pay tax on the seed in the short term on an annual basis and put more money in after tax, you're paying tax on the seed. And when you pay the tax, when you go ahead and take the tax deduction now annually each year, now you're going to pay tax on the harvest. It doesn't mean that you necessarily win. The last time I checked, Uncle Sam is not a very forgiving uncle. And in some of the examples that I have done before for clients where they've done the taking the pre-tax deduction, when you start to roll it up in the future using the current tax rates, you could potentially pay more on that money or break even per se as far as the taxes that you're going to pay. So it depends on how you want to do it. What many people like myself and Lonzie, and you can chime in a second, what we're saying is to use all the strategies available to you. Use the pre-tax because you don't want to miss out on free money. Free money is anything your company is matching or the government or wherever you work, they're matching and they require you to put in a certain amount. Absolutely do it. And then we're saying, hey, there's another option to do. Make sure you're putting in what you can put in the Roth. Then, if you are still able, if you still have finances, then make sure you're putting some money aside in some index universal or cash value accounts. And then if you leave the other job, roll that money to an annuity with another company so you can see it continue to grow. It's not about doing one thing forever. Because we learned to do it 20 years ago doesn't mean that you keep doing it in year 25. It means you got to keep paying attention to what's going on with finance and with your finances specifically, it to know what to do. And like we said, one size does not fit all. And I love that the 401k strategy is working very well for you. And if that strategy works for you, we want to encourage you to stick with what works. But if you want to look at what some of the other options are, that's what we're here for and we're discussing. You want to add to that,
Yeah,
Lonzie, as somebody from the corporate side with the 401k
yeah,
experience?
I love that. And then let me just go back to I like that you mentioned about the young person, the entrepreneurs, about the solo 401k because there's a lot of flexibility there, in particular with backdoor Roth options as well that allows you to contribute and get some advantages there. But I won't go into details about that. But I mean, Saran, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I think each individual situation is different. Back when I first kind of got into working and everything, my wife and I, we, kind of our income combined, I mean, it wasn't that much. And so what we did have, we did put it in our retirement savings account because we wanted to lower our taxable income. So we put our money in pre-tax. That was the only only I guess avenue that we could put money in. Now employer retirement plans are offering the after-tax option now as well. But it lowered our taxable income. And so I mean, I'm just telling you, just flat out, we like getting that IRS tax refund every year because of us lowering our income. But then it goes to, like you say, kind of learning more about finance. And then as our level of education, but not also that our level of compensation began to increase, we had to start evaluating and looking at some different things. And so now that I'm in my mid 40s and looking at the future and looking towards retirement, what I did this one day was just kind of calculate my 403b balance and was like, okay, if I took the money out right now based on the current tax rate plus my age, how much would I be paying in taxes? And what I found was that I'll be paying at least $160,000 worth of taxes. And so I was like, okay, what can I do differently? So for me, just my own unique situation based on
Right.
where I am and evaluating my tax strategy and trying to create a balance where I can still lower my income, but also think about the future, I did decide instead of putting the 15% pre-tax that I was doing in my 403b, lower it to 6% because that's what my company was matching on, but then taking that difference and putting it into a more tax advantage account. Because in my mind, based on my strategy, now that I'm making income, and like you say, with the assumption that the tax rates are going to increase over time, I prefer to do what's hard while things are easy. So
Easy.
that
Yeah.
way things, when the future 20, 30 years from now, when it's time for me to take my money, I can take everything as opposed to getting that huge tax hit, if that makes sense. So,
I
but now
love
you,
that. I love that personal example because I talk to a lot of people who are or who are post retirement. They just kind of retired, and they're like, but they're taxing me so much, right? They've accumulated 800,000, $1 million because they did the right thing. They
right,
put the money in. Now There's some people on the reverse end. That's another story. But they went ahead and these people put in, these clients put in the money. They got 850K. They got a million. They got 1.5 million in their retirement. But they're paying, they're at their current tax bracket. They got 26% tax bracket. You got to take that off the top,
Right.
right? And that doesn't account for all the other little sneaky taxes. We know what the sneaky tax is: the tax on the water bill, the tax on the gas, the tax on your house, the tax on your car, depending on the state you live in, the tax on the groceries, the tax on the clothes. You got all these other little taxes that are floating around. And then, but you take a large hit on the lump sum of your money that hurts in retirement because you're counting the full balance. Oh, okay. Well, if I got 1 million, I can spread that over, 30 years and I'm good. Well, maybe not, depending on what the tax is going to be. And oh, by the way, what's the inflation rate going to be?
Mm.
Because the cost of what cost $1 million today, you're not going to be able to, what million, I'm sorry, what cost $100 today? Nobody, people aren't buying stuff for $1 million. At least not today, not on the podcast. Some of y'all might be buying stuff for $1 million. I just spoke into your life. You're going to be a millionaire. But something that costs $100 today may cost $150 in 20 years, just based on inflation. Not that big bump in inflation we saw post COVID, but inflation goes up anyway, 2.5%, 3% every year, whether you're paying attention or not. We just felt it really hard right after COVID. We're like, wait, we just closed the door, went inside. I just came out. Why is this double?
Right.
Right? We may not expect. Hopefully, we don't experience that kind of inflation real time again in our lifetimes. But inflation also plays a big part because that same $1 million may only be worth $750,000 in goods and services, and then you still got to take off the taxes. And the biggest lie I think I've ever heard told, the biggest lie I've heard told is that your taxes are going to be lower when you retire. Here's why that's a lie. When that saying came about, it was in the 60s and 70s when taxes were relatively high. And you can challenge me on this. Go Google the historical tax rates of the United States. It should bring you back a table and it'll show you the historical tax rates. At one point in America's history, the highest tax rate for the highest income earners was 90%. When we got into the 60s and 70s, the tax rates for the high income earners making 100, 200, $300,000 a year was around was between 40 and 60. I remember, I can see the chart in my head, but for some reason I can't see the exact number. But it was like 60%. And so 401ks came around in the 60s and 70s.
Right.
And so they're saying, well, put your money in here for 30 years because taxes will be lower in the future 30 years from now. Because in the 60s, they said there's no way taxes can still be 50 to 60% in the future. Fast forward to Reaganomics in the 80s. What did Reagan do? Reagan lowered the taxes, right? It's not just a word. I mean, I was a kid in the 80s. I knew what Reaganomics was because it was the word they taught us in school and grade school. But as an adult, I understand that the biggest thing he did for the nation was lower the taxes. And right now, where we sit today, we're sitting at one of the lowest tax brackets that we've been in this country for higher income earners. And what happens is, do you remember what happened during COVID? When all those checks was going out and all that money was moving around. And I'm gonna say something funny. In the DMV, everybody was buying crab legs. I don't know what they was doing down in Texas, Lonzie, but in the DMV,
Oh,
they was buying crab legs and blue crabs like nobody's business, right? The mayor had to even shut down the wharf. Like, listen, we told y'all to go in the house. We did not tell y'all to go get a bushel of crabs. We said go home, and we said don't go to the mall. But as the tax brackets change right now, they could or could not go low, regardless of, we don't know whatever your belief system about what's going to happen in the country in January when we change administrations. part of the belief for those who believed in that politics was about their taxes, was really about not paying more taxes, right? Now, I'm not speaking for all the other people you might have feelings about because there was some other stuff too, but I'm talking about the taxes. And so we're looking at potentially, we don't know if our taxes are going to go up or down. And keep in mind when we go through various political administrations, the taxes we experience during the time you're sitting in were decided on maybe an administration ago, not necessarily the administration you're sitting in. Although the news will tell you that it's the person who did it. If you go and you look at when things were signed by your legislators, they probably occurred before they're being reported. So, and that's the thing, you have to really kind of get into those things to understand the cycles, right? The cycles, the taxes change when you have Republican, when you have Democrat. All those things change, all the beliefs, all the money moves differently. The idea is to figure out how it's moving, figure out how to get something to move your way, right? To your business, to your life, or whatever, and figure out how to make it grow, whoever's in office. And that includes your retirement, because if you just get a 401k, and that's what we're talking about, flipping your 401k. If you just get a 401k and all you're doing is every 2 weeks setting it and getting it, or every month or whatever your pay cycle is, you're putting that money in there. You're not really sure what it's invested in. You don't really sure what the returns are because you don't know how to read the charts, right? I'm guilty. I didn't know how to read the charts before, but now being like, what did I say? Okay, let me go do this. Let me text Lonzie. Let me call Jay. Let me call this one, because you gotta figure it out for yourself, right? Now I know I'm just using y'all as an example. I know more about it than I did before, but what they hope is you do exactly what you're doing. You put it in there, you forget, you don't know what it's doing, because guess what? Somebody else is also making money off your money, and you're not getting a cut. Because
Mm.
think about who else you're going to give your money to hold it for 30 years. Lonzie, here go my 500,000. Can you hold this for me for 30 years? Well,
Yep.
guess what you're going to do, Lonzie, if I give you 500,000 to hold this for me for 30 years. If Lonzie's smart, he's going to take my 500,000 and figure out how to make money on my 500,000 and still give me my money in 30 years, but he may have made 4 times what I asked him to hold. And that's exactly what your 401k plan is doing.
Yep. And then guess what? I'm gonna tell you when and where and how you can take it. So
Exactly.
the moment you give me that 500,000, is no longer your money anymore. It's mine.
And
My
it's my,
rules.
and it's your rules, and I can't take it out. And if I take it out, you're gonna take all the interest. If I borrow it, you're gonna make sure that I'm in some structured repayment plan. There's, like the mob. I'm just gonna take it out your paycheck because you don't
Yep.
need it.
And, and that's what a lot of people don't understand, especially even when they borrow or they put the money in there. They don't understand that they're basically forfeiting their hard earned. And again, I'm not discouraging, because I
Not at
contribute
all.
to my
I
403b. This is
contribute
not
as well.
discouraging at all. This is just to let people know, to be informed that may not be informed. But the moment that you sign up and decide to put your pay from your paycheck in these plans, you are forfeiting the rights to your money to government agencies, the IRS. You're forfeiting it to the plan administrator or your employer. So just kind of knowing those restrictions and limitations and those rules will help you make informed decisions, because
Mhm.
you can't, it's not a savings account. You can't
Not.
just go and dip into it whenever and however you want. And here's the thing about loans. I mean, especially if you're contributing pre-tax, they tell you that it's a tax-free loan, but it's really not. Because when you borrow, even though you're not being taxed on it, guess how you pay that back? You pay that back
After
with
tax dollars.
tax dollars. And then guess what? When you're ready to withdraw the money, guess what? You're going to be taxed on the same money that you paid back into your plan for your loan. So just knowing the rules, the design of these plans, help you become more, not only literate, but more independent, because you're
Yeah.
more informed. So I just want to make that point.
Yeah. And again, this is not financial advice. This is a financial conversation he and I are having together, and you're just watching. But
Exactly.
the other thing is that we both still contribute to our employer sponsored plan, but it's strategic. We have a plan to where it's this. I am like Lonzie. I have the IUL. I also have an infinite banking set up. I also have some Roth accounts set up. I also have an annuity because the thing is that if you're planning for retire and here's what's crazy. I don't plan on retiring. I don't plan on retiring. And I say that because I love what I do in finance, and so I want to do it as long as I and still enjoy it. And so when I transition from full time work with the government to full time work in my finance, I'm not gonna retire from finance. I'm gonna be the Les Brown of finance. Where's Les Brown at right now? Where y'all see him? He's still speaking and talking. Why? Because he does what he loves. Right? You can't stop him, but he happens to still get paid very well to do it too. So that's the thing is finding a thing and finding a space that you love and being able to enjoy it and do it and but I still plan for retirement because there will come a day that I may just want to not do anything and need to have some money to do that. Right, I need to have my expenses covered and things taken care of. So I don't want to keep you all night. I know you're in a different time zone, but I don't want to keep you all night. And so I want to ask you this. Do you have any closing words for the team? And actually, I didn't ask you my signature question. Is there a time in your life where you felt like you went from chaos to calm in your finances? And what did you learn from it?
Yeah, absolutely. There was a time in my life when I had my firstborn child and I was making 24.5 a year and couldn't put a full tank of gas in my car and didn't know how I was going to make rent. And it what it forced me to do is get more serious about my finances. It started
Mhm.
to put me in a position where I started to separate from some of the things that simply wasn't getting me to where I wanted to get, which is to basically take care of not only myself but my for my son for his future. And so what I learned for about that is you even if you don't know about something as important as finance, you got to get serious about it because it affects everything that we do, every decision that we make. Saran talked about health earlier. Man, the number one cause for employees of stress is their finances. So it's all
Mhm.
interconnected. So get serious about it, and sacrifice is okay. Short term pain for long term gain is okay, and it sometimes it takes 10 to 15 years to be an overnight success. But as long as you stay consistent, as long as you stay diligent, as long as you stay focused, as long as you remove yourself from distractions, you'll get there. But you gotta act, and you gotta want it, and you gotta be serious about it.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. So tell the people how they can get in contact with you. Give them your Instagram. Oh, wait, you gotta give them the YouTube channel because Lonzie has an amazing YouTube channel as well, and his videos drop on Mondays. He doesn't he records his, so he doesn't do it live. So you don't have to cheat on me on Mondays. You can
Mhm.
watch his after you watch me live, but let them know. Give them the YouTube handle and your Instagram handle so people can follow. And if you go and like and share and follow, be sure to DM him or message him. Let him know, hey, I met you on Saran's show.
Absolutely. Thank you, Saran. Yeah, Mastering Money Mondays. I'm a co-host, and we talk about how we've been taught how to make money, right? We've been taught how to manage money, but we have not been taught how to master money. And so that is on YouTube. It's youtube.com at Mastering Money Mondays. Yeah, please subscribe, like, and share. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Mr. It's Mr. Flip Your 401k. And you can also find me on Facebook and LinkedIn by my first and last name, my government name, Lonzie Greene. Just reach out to me and send me a DM. Let me know that you heard me on the podcast. And hey, I love to hear from you and partner with you, work with you, or answer any questions that you may have.
All right, awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for joining, Lonzie. I'm gonna close out real quick. Hang tight for a couple of minutes.
All righty.
Well, there you have it. This has been another empowering episode of Unblocking Your Path to Wealth, going from chaos to calm with your finances. I'm your girl, Saran, your host, and it's been exciting to have our guest, Mr. Flip Your 401k. Hopefully, you got some nuggets. I want to encourage you to reach out to me, to reach out to him if you want to book some time to talk about your specific financial needs so that we can assist you with moving you from a place of chaos to a place of calm. But as you know, we're here every Monday at 8:30 p.m. sharp, and I want to make sure you still tap in. We're here on Monday. We're going to be here all through the holidays. I still have some amazing guests lined up for you throughout the year, as well as I mentioned, I will be dropping a 6-week financial boot camp to help you get your year started. I'll be dropping the link by the end of the week so that you can sign up and join the boot camp. It's not free, but it'll be worth it. And I want to make sure that you have access to that to stay in community and to get your money right. We always talk about getting our money right. I want to invite you to be sure to subscribe, share the podcast with friends and family so that we can be here and assist you on going from chaos to calm your finances. And as per usual, I did forget to give you your weekly affirmation, and your weekly affirmation is money comes to me easily, frequently, and abundantly. Money comes to me easily, frequently, and abundantly. And with that, it's your girl Saran. Peace, love, and light. Let's get your money right.